Over the years, Rockstar has given GTA Online players tons of ways to make money in the game, but at the end of the day, some are better than others. And that's why in today's video, we're going to be going over the top 10 ways to make money in GTA Online. Coming in at the number 10 spot is weekly events. Now this encompasses a lot of different things, but there are two things in particular that I would focus on. The first being time trials. If you don't know what these are essentially timed events where you have to get from one place on the map to another place on the map in a specified time. And if you do that correctly, you will earn hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, the two main ones that I'd always consider doing is the regular time trial as well as the HSW time trial if you are on the new gen consoles. The best vehicle I've found to complete each is going to be the Hokuchu Drag, which is one of the fastest land vehicles in the entire game. But of course, there are many other vehicles that you could use. Now, if you complete both time trials, the HSW and the regular one, you will earn a total of $350,000. Now, of course, you can only do this once per week, but it's a great way to make quick cash. The second thing to focus on with weekly events is what are the bonus businesses. Each week, a certain business in the game will get a bonus. Sometimes it is double money, sometimes it's 1.5 times money, other times it's triple money. And depending on how good that bonus is, it usually brings that business, whatever it may be, way up in the rankings of what's the best way to make money. For example, a few weeks ago, the auto shop contracts were triple money, meaning that we were able to make almost $2 million every single hour with them. And that brought them up to the best way to make money in the entire game. So keeping an eye out on which businesses are currently on bonus money is a very important thing to do. Number 9 is the bunker. Now, this is a great business. Essentially, the way it works is you purchase supplies or steal supplies. Those supplies then get delivered to the business. Over time, they're turned into product, which you could later on sell for a profit. Now, of course, the first thing you'll need to do is get a bunker. Now, bunkers range from about $1 million to a couple $1 million, but there are two locations specifically that I would go for. The first one being the Chumash bunker and the second one being the farmhouse bunker, and that's because they are fairly close to the city. And the reason why we want them to be close to the city is because when we eventually do our sell mission, in order to make the most amount of money possible, we will have to drop off our product somewhere in the city, and that's going to make us the most money, so we might as well be the closest to it. Two other things you'll want to do for the bunker in order to make the most amount of money possible is buying the equipment and staff upgrade, as they make you more product and more valuable product. If you do have both of those upgrades, you can then purchase supplies for $75,000. It will take 2 hours and 20 minutes for those supplies to be turned into product, and if you sell that product right away, you can sell it for $210,000 to Los Santos, which will net you $135,000 in profit for 2 hours and 20 minutes. In the end, the profit per hour ends up working out to about $60,000, which isn't the best, but because the bunker is for the most part, passive business, all you have to do is buy supplies and then sell the stock. It's a great way to make money. But of course, it's only about $60,000 per hour, so that is why it's number 9 on the list. In the number 8 spot is the special cargo warehouse. Now, this is one of the businesses that you could do as a CEO, and the way that it works is you source cargo crates or essentially steal them. You bring them back to a warehouse, which you could then sell on for a profit. Now, in order to do this, you'll first need a CEO office and then one of 3 different types of warehouses. There's small, medium, and large, with small being able to hold up to 16 crates, medium holding up to 42 crates, and large holding up to 111 crates. And of course, the bigger the better, because it means that you have to do sell missions less often. When it comes to sourcing crates, you could do it either from your CEO office, from the Terabyte, or even from the Master Control Terminal. And there's 3 different kinds of source missions you could do. You could source 1 crate, 2 crates, or 3 crates at a time, with the best being 3 crates, as it is the most efficient. There's a few different source missions you could get, but in the end, they take about 5 to 10 minutes on average. The second way to source crates is to actually go to the assistant here in your warehouse and to hire them to go out and source crates. They will source anywhere between 1 to 3 different crates on average, usually getting 1 crate, and they could do that every 48 minutes or every in-game day. This is done completely passively, so they go and do it for you, which is a great little addition to the warehouses. Now, when it comes to selling on the crates, I would always sell with a full warehouse, as you will earn $20,000 per crate. If you don't do that, the less amount of crates you have, the less they will sell for individually. It's also important to note that the amount of sell vehicles you will get will change depending on how many crates you are selling. If you sell 9 crates or less, you will get 1 sell vehicle. If you sell 27 crates or less, you will get 2 sell vehicles. And if you sell more than 27 crates, you will get 3 sell vehicles. Now, if you do this business consistently, you can earn a few $100,000 per hour, but of course, you're not going to realize that, or shouldn't be realizing that, until the final sale, which usually takes some time to build up towards. Which is the reason why this is in number 8, because it's not a fast, quick way to make money. It takes time, and you can make great money over time, but it's not going to make you that instant cash. In the number 7 spot, we have the other CEO business that you could run, which is the vehicle cargo warehouse. Now, this business works similar to the CEO cargo crates. It's just this time we are stealing and selling vehicles. Now, of course, you will first need a CEO office, and then second, you will also need a vehicle cargo warehouse. But once you have those 2 things, you could then start up a source mission where you'll be given a location to a car that you'll have to go and steal and bring back to the warehouse. When it comes to the source missions, there's 3 different types of cars that you can end up stealing. You could steal a standard range, a mid-range, or a top range, with top range being the most expensive cars and the ones that will make us the most amount of money. Once you bring those cars back to the vehicle cargo warehouse, you will then be able to do a sell mission where you modify the vehicle and then deliver it to a buyer and make your money. Now, in the beginning, there's going to be no way to tell what kind of vehicle you're going to get, standard, mid, or top range vehicles, but there is a trick to guarantee that you get top range vehicles, and that is by never selling your mid and standard range vehicles. If you were to do that and get the 10 of each required into your warehouse, you will be guaranteed to source a top range vehicle. And that is because you're not able to get duplicates in the warehouse. So if you have every single one of the 10 standard and mid-range vehicles in your warehouse, you will never be able to source them again, meaning you only get top range and therefore you make the most amount of money possible. So with that being said, if we were to only source top range vehicles and sell them in invite-only lobbies, you will be able to make $80,000. And that's because you can sell the vehicle for 100 grand, but you do have to pay $20,000 to modify it and sell it to a specialist buyer. In total, sourcing that car will probably take you 5 to 10 minutes, and then that sell mission will once again take you about 5 to 10 minutes. Now, there is a short cooldown for source missions and a 20-minute cooldown after each sale, which means you could do about 3 of these in just over an hour time. Now, there is one thing I have to mention with this business. Unlike other businesses, if you do damage the car at any point when you are bringing it during a source mission to the warehouse or during your sell mission, that will be deducted from your total. So your actual money made can vary from mission to mission, but if you were to do 3 of these in just over an hour, you'll be making about $240,000, assuming you're making $80,000 each time. But there is one final thing to say about the business, and that is if you were to sell the car in a public lobby with 25 or more people, you will earn the high demand bonus of 50%. So realistically, you can actually go out and sell these cars in public lobbies and make $130,000 instead of $80,000 in profit each time. Of course, it's going to be more risky. There are players in the session that can blow up the car or even damage the car, so keep that in mind. But if you were to do something like that, you could be making about $390,000 in just over an hour. So as you can see, this is a great way to make money, and that's why it's number 7 on the list. But the only reason why it's not higher is because the amount of money you could make per car varies depending on damage, and the amount of time it takes varies depending on missions. So it's not as consistent as some of the other money methods on this list. And that brings me to number 6 on the list, which is a fairly consistent business, the Acid Lab. Now, the way the Acid Lab works is it's very similar to the bunker. We purchase or steal supplies. Those supplies over time are then turned into product, which we could later on sell for a profit. Now, of course, the first thing to do is get an Acid Lab, which you will need to complete the first dose missions to do, so it will take a bit of time. But once you've done that, you can unlock and purchase the Acid Lab. But in order to make the most amount of money with it, you will also need to get the equipment upgrade, which requires you to do 10 Fooligan missions. So once we've done both of those things and purchased both the equipment upgrade and the Acid Lab for $1 million, it is now time to make money. The best way to make money with the Acid Lab is to purchase supplies for $60,000, and you have to do that twice. 1.6 batches of supplies will take 4 hours to completely fill up your Acid Lab. And once you have that, you can then sell on that product for $335,000. But what I would highly suggest doing is selling in a public lobby with 25 or more people, because then you'll get a 50% bonus, bringing up that total sale to just over 500 grand. Luckily for us, that isn't too difficult because you are always guaranteed one sell vehicle with the Acid Lab. But if you do that, make 500 grand and spend $96,000 or 1.6 batches of supplies, you will make $400,000 for 4 hours of passive income, meaning we're earning $100,000 every single hour with the Acid Lab. And that is why it's number 6 on the list. It makes us a decent amount of money while also being almost entirely passive. Coming in at the number 5 spot is the Nightclub, which is the best passive income business in the game. The way it works is there's 2 ways to make money. The first being hiring technicians, assigning them to source certain types of product, which you later on sell for a profit. And the second way to make money is through the Nightclub wall safe, where you will earn a certain amount of money each in-game day, depending on how popular your nightclub is. Now, in order to make the most amount of money with this business, you will have to have quite a few things. The first thing you'll need is the equipment and staff upgrades. Those will help you make the most amount of money possible. The next thing to do is to hire all 5 technicians and assign them to source certain types of product. But in order for them to source these certain types of product, you will have to own a corresponding business in the game. But with that being said, here are the 5 best products to assign the technicians to. The first one is cargo and shipments, which requires you to own a CEO cargo crate warehouse or a hangar. The second is sporting goods, which requires you to own a bunker. The third is South American imports, which requires you to own a white stuff lockup. The fourth is pharmaceutical research, which requires you to own a blue stuff lab. And finally, the fifth one is cash creation, which requires you to own a counterfeit cash factory. If you have 5 technicians assigned to all 5 of those businesses, you will earn $50,000 in passive income or passive product sourced each hour. Over time, that product will build up in your nightclub warehouse, and you could later on sell that for a profit. Once again, you will always get one sell vehicle, just like the Acid Lab, and I highly suggest selling in a public lobby with 25 or more people so you get the 50% bonus, and only selling once you have at least $1 million worth of stock in the warehouse, since you will maximize your money that way. Now, of course, that part of the nightclub is a little bit complicated and takes quite a bit of money to get going because you need to own all of those businesses. But like I said, it will earn you $50,000 every single hour. But now let's talk about the easier way to make 50 grand every single hour, and that's through the nightclub wall safe. You will see when you get into your nightclub that your nightclub has a certain amount of popularity. If you keep that popularity maxed out, you will earn $50,000 that will be deposited directly into your wall safe every in-game day or 48 minutes. That safe ends up capping out at $250,000, but you can go and clear it out and take your money out at any point, and this is just such a simple and easy way to make money. Now, there's a few different ways that you could maximize your popularity or make sure the popularity stays up, but I personally just go and switch through different DJs. Each time you bring in a new DJ, your popularity will increase, and that's just the way I do it. But if we combine making money through our warehouse and making money with the wall safe, the nightclub makes $100,000 and we barely have to do any work. The majority of it just comes with the setup and then the upkeep of having our popularity maxed out and the final sale of our goods. But with all that being said, the reason why the nightclub is in the number 5 spot is because it takes some time for that stock to be built up. So with that being said, we're now going to move into a faster money method, which brings me to the number 4 spot, which is the auto shop contracts. These can be accessed through the auto shop, and they are essentially mini heists. You have 2 setup missions with 1 finale. They take anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes, and they earn you a few $100,000 each time. But if we're going to be very specific, the one that I would focus the most of your time on is the Union Depository Contract, as it pays out a total of $295,000 and only takes about 20 minutes to complete. This is the one where you are robbing gold from the Union Depository. But just like everything else in the game, it does have about a 1-hour cooldown. So in the meantime, you could mix in some other contracts if you'd like. My other 2 favorites are the Bank Contract and the Super Dollar Deal. They don't pay anywhere near as much as the Union Depository Contract, but if you were to do 2 of these in an hour, or possibly 3, which is possible, you could be making $400,000 to $600,000 every single hour. And that is precisely why they're number 4 on the list. Not only do they make a decent amount of money, they're also relatively interesting, there's a decent variety, but they make us money quick. Coming in at the number 3 spot is Payphone Hits. These are by far one of the best ways to make money in the game. They're just so quick and pay out really well. Now, these are essentially just assassination missions. You have to kill 1 or multiple targets while also trying to complete a specified bonus. And if you do that, you will make a good amount of money. But of course, in order to access these and to do these, you will first have to own an agency and complete 3 security contracts. Once you've done that, you could then call up Franklin at any time, request a payphone hit, and he will direct you to the nearest payphone to you. Once you've gone to the payphone and started up the mission, you will then be given the target you need to assassinate as well as a bonus. And if you complete both, you kill the target while completing the bonus, you will earn $85,000, and these assassinations usually take about 5 minutes to complete. Now, unfortunately, there is a cooldown of 20 minutes after completing one of these payphone hits, but that means you could get about 3 done in just over an hour, paying out $255,000, oftentimes for about 10 to 15 minutes of work. These are great because they fit into any money grind that you're doing, because they're so quick and because they could be started from literally anywhere on the map. These are a great way to make money, and that's why they're in my number 3 spot. Coming in at number 2 is the other way to make money with the agency, which is the Dr. Dre Contract. This is essentially a more elaborate heist. Now, of course, in order to do it, you will have to own an agency, but once you've done that and you've done 1 security contract, you can then start up the Dr. Dre Contract. And like I said, it's a more elaborate heist. Now, your first playthrough, you'll have to do a few intro and initial recon missions, but every time after that, you have to complete 3 leaks, which are essentially 3 mini heists. They have 2 preps and 1 finale, where you are retrieving stolen music for Dr. Dre. Once you've completed those 3 leaks, you then have the 2 finale missions, which once you complete, you will earn $1 million. Although all in, with the money you get from missions and the finale, you earn $1.1 million for about an hour and a half to 2 hours of work. So when it comes to actual pay per hour, it works out to about $500,000 to $650,000 per hour, depending on how fast you get it done. But regardless, this is the second best and one of the best ways to make money in the entire game, simply for how much money you could make per a 1-hour time span. Now, I do have to say, the one major downside of the Dr. Dre Contract is you have to do so many different missions that over time it can become tedious. But I do have a guide in the description down below that can give you a few tips on how to complete it. But besides that, it is a great way to make money. And now it's time to move on to the number 1 spot. I'm sure this isn't a surprise to anybody, but the best way to make money in the entire game is the Cayo Perico Heist. In order to access it, you will have to get the Casaca submarine, but once you've done that, you can then start up the Cayo Perico Heist, which is essentially a heist where you're sneaking onto an island, getting loot from around the island, and then getting into a main compound to eventually steal a primary target before leaving the island unnoticed. It is insane. It's like out of a movie. You gotta love it. So not only is the actual heist itself very fun to play, and there's so many different variations of it that you could do, it's also by far the best way to make money because it does pay out on average $1.3 to $1.5 million for anywhere between 45 minutes to about an hour and 15 minutes of work. Nothing comes close to it in the entire game, and because it can be done solo, it is by far the best money method in GTA 5 Online. Unfortunately, there is one major downside to the Heist, and that is its cooldown. It has a 2.5 hour cooldown if you complete it as a solo player. But luckily for us, you guys have this entire list that I gave you today of other things you could do in the meantime, and it's exactly what I do. I always start my money grind with the Cayo Perico Heist, and then during that cooldown, I fill it up with anything else that is on this list in this video. Once again, I have a guide for the Cayo Perico Heist that I'll link in the description down below. But with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on the list and other things that maybe you would have added to it. And with that, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.